Welcome back. Today I'm going to read Mountains Surviving on Mount Everest by Michael Sandler. And this is what you'll see on Think Central as well from your Journeys book. Climbing Mount Everest. The clock showed almost midnight. The temperature was freezing. Icy winds roared by. A group of people huddled in the darkness on a rocky ridge. In moments, they would begin the final stage of a dangerous journey. They were climbing to the top of Mount Everest, the world's highest mountain. Among the climbers were Temba Shiri, Sherpa. Just 2 weeks before, Temba had celebrated his 16th birthday. Now he was trying to survive in one of the world's most extreme places. Making it to the top of Everest was Temba's dream. He would be the youngest person ever to reach the summit, which is 29,035 feet, or 8,850 meters high. So as you can see right here, here is a text feature. The photograph is a graphic feature. The text feature is going to tell you what's coming up in that section or paragraph. What are mountains? Mountains are a type of tall landform. They rise high above the area around them. Mountains are taller than hills. They can rise thousands of feet or kilometers in the air. They are found all over the world, even beneath the sea. A group of mountains is called a range. The biggest mountain range in North America is the Rocky Mountains. The Andes in South America is the world's longest mountain range. Mount Everest, the mountain Temba was climbing, is part of the Himalaya Mountains. The name Himalaya means home of snow. This Asian range is the world's highest. It includes 9 of the 10 tallest mountains on Earth. And these mountains cover 1/4 of Earth's land surface. So again, you'll see text features and graphic features. If you're curious, you might want to find out what the names of the other 9 tallest mountains on Earth are. Going on, mountain conditions. As Temba approached Everest's summit, survival became harder and harder. Mountain conditions get more extreme the higher a person climbs. Air contains less and less oxygen as the altitude increases. Breathing becomes nearly impossible. Thin air can cause headaches and dizziness at 10,000 feet, or 3,048 meters. Higher up, it can be deadly. Humans cannot survive for long at the top section of mountains like Everest. Hurricane-force winds can reach 130 miles per hour. Temperatures can plummet to minus 100 degrees Fahrenheit during the night. Blowing snow makes it hard to see. Temba was headed there. And then there's a little side note. Frostbite can happen when it's so cold that hands, feet, and other parts of the body freeze solid. Frostbite can cause people to lose fingers, toes, even their noses. Why do people climb mountains? People climb mountains for many reasons. Some enjoy the thrill of being high above the clouds. Others like the challenge of testing their skills. For decades, however, reaching the top of Everest was a test that no climber could pass. The first attempts to climb Everest were made during the 1920s. Again and again, the climbing teams stopped short of their goal. Avalanches, storms, sickness, and exhaustion brought them to a halt. Then in 1953, 2 climbers finally succeeded, Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay. Hillary was from New Zealand. Norgay was a Sherpa from Nepal. A Sherpa is someone who assists the climbers by carrying things up the mountain, packing things, or perhaps guiding. And you'll see Sir Edmund Hillary on the left and Tenzing Norgay on the right, showing off their survival equipment in 1953. So as you can see, more text features and more graphic features for this story. Temba's mistake. Temba had tried to climb Everest before. It ended, however, in failure. "I didn't have enough training or proper equipment," Temba said. He was almost at the summit when his oxygen supply ran out. Without oxygen, Temba couldn't think clearly. He made a terrible mistake. He took off his gloves to tie his boots. His fingers froze. Temba suffered frostbite on both hands. He had to turn back just 70 feet from his goal. The next time around, however, Temba was prepared. He had trained hard. He had the right equipment thanks to his classmates and teachers. They had raised money for his trip. So you'll see at the bottom of the page the survival equipment. So you can see how someone is dressed with a climbing suit to protect against cold, gloves to help keep hands warm and dry, goggles to protect eyes from the sun's harmful rays and from reflection off snow, an oxygen mask and tank for breathing at the high altitudes, an ice axe to help climb slopes and break up ice, climbing ropes to climb up the slopes, trekking poles to help a climber stay balanced, and mountain boots with spikes that dig into the snow and ice. So that's the survival equipment that you see right here. There's more text and graphic features. Camp to camp. Temba's second try began in April 2001, so 19 years ago. Mount Everest sits between Nepal and Tibet. There are several routes to the top. Temba would take a route from the north, the Tibetan side. Climbers move from one camp to the next higher one and then rest for a while. At each camp, their bodies get used to the higher altitudes. Temba spent several weeks moving between camps with his team. At Camp 3, the team waited for a break in the weather. Winter was over, but there had been a series of severe snowstorms. Getting caught in a snowstorm farther up the mountain would be deadly. You can see the route that they followed on this map. The camp up Everest officially begins at base camp. That climbers stay in tents there so their bodies can get used to the lower levels of oxygen. And then as they acclimate, they're able to move up the mountain, and you can see the pictures of all the different camps until they get to the summit or the top of the mountain. Reaching the top of the world. Just before midnight, Temba began his final climb. A headlamp lit the darkness. An oxygen mask helped Temba to breathe. Sometimes he'd stop to rest or to change oxygen bottles. Just after sunrise, Temba reached Mount Everest's summit. He was higher than anyone else on the planet. Temba planted 2 flags. One was for his school, the other was for Nepal. I felt so happy, he said. There's a side note at the bottom. It is dangerous for climbers to spend more than 10 minutes at the top of Everest. The body needs to get to a lower altitude where there is more oxygen. So you can't really stand up there and enjoy your accomplishment because it's dangerous. And then there's a picture with him that says Temba was the youngest person to climb Mount Everest. So again, more text features and a photo. Will the mountains survive? Temba survived in the mountains. Now he wants to make sure the mountains survive. The world's mountains face many different threats. Trash is one problem. For a while, Everest was called the world's highest garbage dump. The mountain was littered with tons of trash that climbers left behind. Batteries, bottles, and empty oxygen tanks. Many climbers didn't have the time or strength to carry these things back down with them. And you'll see in the picture, there's a caption that says, climbers have left garbage on Everest since 1921. Now people are trying to clean up the mess. So you can see the problem there. Global warming is another problem. As Earth gets warmer, mountain glaciers are melting. Himalayan lakes are swelling up with water. When they flood, mountain landscapes will be changed forever. Side note, in 2005, the snow cap on Tanzania's Mount Kilimanjaro melted for the first time in history. And that's what's showing here. If you want to find out more about Kilimanjaro, you can do some searching there too. After the climb. When Temba came down from Everest, he was thinking about food, not fame. After weeks of camping, he was starving for home cooking. Still, when he flew home to Kathmandu, a huge crowd was waiting. Temba couldn't believe it. I had never seen so many cameras. All of them were pointed at me, he said. Despite the attention, Temba focused on his schoolwork. He needed a good education to achieve his other dream, starting a school in Dhalaka. Will Temba succeed? Only time will tell. If you survived on Everest, however, and reached the top, no goal seems too high. Kathmandu is the capital and largest city of Nepal. Temba smiled at supporters who greeted him at the Kathmandu airport after he successfully climbed Mount Everest. So you can see that. Now keep in mind this story took place, or his climb took place 19 years ago. So it would be interesting to find out if he did open that school successfully. Hopefully you've enjoyed this story, and if you're interested in doing more exploring about mountains, you can go ahead and do that if you like. Thank you for listening and tuning in.